Hi and welcome to VeloSews Sewing Studio. My name is Maria. I'm known as VeloSews on social media, and this is my sewing studio. So welcome for my version of Friday Sews on Friday the 8th of May. What I'm wearing at the moment is a French style jacket that I made in 2020. So I actually did a Susan Cowgie course at the start of 2020 and sewed one in the class, and this is the second one that I sewed on my own at home, and all of the fabric, the buttons and the trim were from Minerva in the UK, and I wore it today because it started to get cold. We're at the start of May and went out with some friends today, and you probably would have seen the photos on Instagram. So this is what the outfit looked like after lunch, and also when we were at the Selvage Society. I hope you like it, and I'm really pleased that I'm going to be wearing my French style jackets this winter. So now we're going to move on to the sewing catch up for this week. What you see behind me are my two versions of the Fara top that Anne of Designer Stitch is launching tomorrow. She also designed the Laurel pants. So let me show you the sleeve detailing that I did on the pink version. So the pink fabric that I've got is a lighter weight linen, and yes, I've overlocked the edges of the seams. They're usually 1.5 centimeter seams, and that makes it really easy if you are using a 3-thread overlocker. I've got a very old Janome here and it does a perfect job on them. So the key feature that I love about this blouse is that it's got the petal sleeves, and what I've done is I put a treatment. So the trim is this, and it's it's less than 0.5 centimeter wide, and it's a color which is very similar to that color, and I bought it from the sewing basket around the corner. And the reason I wanted to use a trim is because the sleeve has got a facing, and so I basically just I sewed up the sleeve first, the hem, and then I sewed on the trim. So I've basically followed the stitching line. If you're a newbie, I think you should go with that. So this one is a very lightweight linen, and it's sort of see-through, as you can tell from the lighting. See, it's very see-through. So I'll probably have to wear that with something underneath, or I don't know, I'll just wait and see. This version is using a Minerva remnant from probably a couple of years ago. And the reason I picked it is because I'd like to be able to incorporate these colours into my capsule wardrobe. I've been doing a lot of white lately, and I think now it's time to bring a bit more colour into my wardrobe. So on this one, I didn't bother with putting a trim into it. This is the fabric that I've chosen for some pants to pair with this top. And this is also going to start to build these sorts of colours into my wardrobe. So there's been a little bit of planning or last minute planning for a new capsule wardrobe. So I'll be using this as the basis for another pair of pants, and I'll be using my block pattern again because I like having a fitted waistband on pants. What I've found with the pants that I've sewn in the past that have got the elastic in the back is if there are pockets and I put my phone in them, sometimes the waistband tends to slip down, and I don't like that. I want to feel comfortable that where my trousers are sitting, that's where they're going to stay. So one thing that did happen this week is while I was working on the teal pants, on my main sewing machine, I have all Janomes. That's just what I've been able to afford over the years. So my main Janome, I was sewing on a pocket. At the front, it was just a patch pocket, but I went too fast and the needle shattered. Not only did the needle shatter, but the where the needle sits, that whole shaft, the needle shaft, it kind of shattered all over the place. And then when I changed the needle, turned the machine on and off, and it was making odd noises. So that was Monday night. So Tuesday, first thing, I went straight to Dulwich Hill and took the main sewing machine to the specialist. On my table at the moment is my travel Janome sewing machine, and it's been doing really well. We're good mates and we travel a lot together. So that was the strange thing that happened this week. Part of the way through the week, my husband came to me and he showed me a pair of pants that he's had for over 15 years, and he said, oh, these have got a hole in them. Now the hole was the base of the center back of his cargo pants, and let me see, how long was it? So the gap was about 6 centimeters. So it was about 6 centimeters. So what I did was I looked at him, I said, do you mind if I mend them? Because I think he actually wanted to buy a new pair of trousers. And he sort of gave me this look, and I don't think he was happy. And I said, look, I'm happy to mend them. I'll give it a go. So I did. And then overnight I thought, I think he really wanted to go and buy some new trousers. So when we were having breakfast in the morning, I said to him, you know what, I'll fix them, but I think it's probably time for you to go and buy a new pair of trousers. And if you like the way I mend them and you want to wear them again, that's fine. So he was happy with that. What I did find is when I did mend that hole, there were some other seams that were starting to fray around that main area between, you know, where the front and the back legs meet, underneath where the zipper is. So I fixed all of that, and I gave them back to him the next day. And I said, listen, try them on, but I think you're probably going to want to maybe just upgrade. But because I fixed them, put them in the charity bin, and the fact that they're fixed, they might actually be used again. So that ended up being something that we did. Maybe it was miscommunication on my part. Anyway, I did a bit of mending this week. Moving on to Sew Organised Style podcast, Sheila Loves Fabric is this week's guest. Now, Sheila first asked me to record this week's podcast with her a year ago. So over 2 years ago, Sheila's daughter was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. And when that all came about, her daughter ended up going through a lot of tests, a lot of chemo treatments. And I think part of the reason Sheila wanted to put this episode together was when she looked at what sort of sewing solutions you could have for someone who is going through chemo treatments, you couldn't really find much information. So over the last 2 years, there's a lot of sewing that Sheila has done for her daughter to support and care for her daughter. The whole family got involved in making sure that her daughter felt loved, supported while she was going through treatment. She's now come out the other end, and she's actually overseas, and you know, she's had treatment. There are some changes that have happened. So the whole point of the episode this week that Sheila has recorded with me is to share all of the sewing solutions that have been really useful in supporting her daughter going through chemo treatment. So if this is something that would be of use to you, I would encourage you to either listen or watch Sheila's episode. And Sheila, thank you so much for being on the podcast again and for sharing your experience and what you've learned while you've been going through supporting your daughter through her cancer treatments. I don't know if you have already followed Everything Frocktails on Instagram. So Everything Frocktails is an Instagram account that I developed 2 years ago. And the whole point of the account is to allow people who are interested in going to a Frocktails event or any sort of meetup can find them on that account. So I will regularly put up all the new Frocktails events that I can find on there. And I'm encouraging people who are running Frocktails accounts to tag Everything Frocktails so that your event will be on the grid under tagged, and that way I can find you and put them on the calendar. A lot of people find out about Frocktail events in their local area after the fact, and they sit there going, why didn't I know about it? Where can I find Frocktails? And so that's why I created Everything Frocktails. So I hope that you will follow it. And if you see any Frocktails that are new or that have just put out there, save the dates, direct message on Everything Frocktails. If you're running an account, a Frocktails account, tag Everything Frocktails. Today's Sew Over 50 update is twofold. One is, remember to make sure that you tag Share Sew Over 50 on your photos when you're posting so that we can find you easily. The hashtag searchability on Instagram really doesn't work, hasn't worked for a while. So Sandy thought through how we can find people faster, and we're finding that thousands, not just hundreds, but thousands of people are now tagging Share Sew Over 50, and Share Sew Over 50 on the tagged side of the account. That's where you'll find people in chronological order. The other thing is that tomorrow we'll have a post with Sam and Ruan, who are running Sew Frugal 26, and it'll have all the details about Sew Frugal. So if you find a free pattern, grab some fabric from your existing stash, make it up and post it on the 31st of May. Use hashtag SewFrugal26 and tag Sam and Ruan so that they can find you. There are a lot of sponsors behind this challenge, so hopefully that's something that you're interested in, and make sure that you post your make on the 31st of May on Instagram. Well, that was my week. Thanks for coming to VeloSews Studio. I think for next week there will be some Bangkok sewing plans. There will be some new Minerva patterns and fabrics to show you. I'm not sure what other unplanned projects will happen, but keep an eye on Sew Over 50. Make sure you use Share Sew Over 50 to tag your posts so that we can find you, because we love finding large and small accounts and we want to showcase the work that you do. So again, my name is Maria. I'm known as VeloSews. This is my studio. So thank you for joining me in VeloSews Studio again today. And I'll see you next time. Happy sewing.